know what I love about reading our website? By that I mean escapecollective.com. I like that when I open up a story, it's just the story. Nice big photo, great photography, good writing, clear text, nothing to get in the way. It's a pretty rare thing on the internet these days. If you enjoy that as well, and you've been enjoying our Tour de France coverage this month, head over to escapecollective.com/join and sign up, because we are fully member funded. Your support makes it all possible.
Hi, this is Juliette Labousse, and you are listening to the Real Talk podcast. And we are almost live from Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, stage number 6 from Clermont-Ferrand to Ambert.
Hello and welcome back to the Real Talk podcast. My name's Matt Neef. And a big thank you to Juliette Labousse for bringing us into tonight's episode. Juliette, as we'll get to soon, was on the attack in the final kilometres of today's stage 6. So very big thank you to her for bringing us into the episode. Georgie, back again.
Back again.
Describe where we are right now.
I mean, it's actually quite idyllic. It's a beautiful French evening. We are al fresco this evening. We're outside. I have the setting sun on my face, which the very lovely Dominic Powers took photos of earlier today as I was waiting for Matt to finish up his piece. We are at the end of what it seems like a railway track. It looks abandoned, but we have some old school railway carriages ahead of us. Flowers are peeking through. The sun is touching the leaves. There is not a breath of wind. And we're in looks like converted barn today for the press centre, which we're just outside of. It's very nice.
Feels like the tour really changed today in terms of the scenery. We had a long drive today across the Massif Central, and just those rolling green hills and the climbs and the up and down, the twists and turns. It was just a beautiful part of the world, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was beautiful, but I don't know if you were enjoying this, but I was certainly enjoying the twists and the turns in the road, driving the car.
Lots to talk about in today's episode as usual, and even more to talk about if you happen to get the off-mic segment as a member of Escape Collective. So if you're not already a member, please do consider signing up. It helps us pull together all this wonderful content, both on the podcast and on the Escape Collective website. So if you enjoy what we do, please do consider signing up, and we'll be coming back at the end of this show for an additional segment. We're going to be talking a bit more about Kim LaCourte. We kind of sung her praises last night about how impressive she's been both on and off the bike, and we're going to go into that in a bit more detail in off mic tonight, talking about a very specific example overnight that I think is a really important example of leadership that she's shown and really important for the sport. So we'll get to that later on. Before we get to the bike race, a quick corrections corner, Georgie.
I know.
Do you want to take this one or shall I?
I can take it. There was a rider that came to the front of the peloton yesterday and looked very similar to one Alice Towers of Canyon Shrams on Decrypto. Very aggressive, very distinctive style. And I just immediately thought, I was like, Alice is at this race. Fantastic. I sent it on the pod last night and I was wrong.
I just like to imagine that Alice was listening to the podcast somewhere off training in who knows where, and she's heard that she was off the front of the Tour de France, and she very much was not. So apologies for that. I also agreed with you in the moment, I'm pretty sure. So these things happen. We'll try to do better, but very much did look like Alice. All right, let's get to today's stage. Georgie, you want to give us a breakdown of what happened on this entertaining stage?
Yeah, it was entertaining, and straight off the bat, it was draining for a lot of riders, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So it was a stage that was we thought would favour a breakaway, and a breakaway did go. At 83 Ks, a group of 20 riders went clear of the peloton into the first Queen of the Mountain points, which was, you'd be surprised to hear, Elise Chabet from FDJ-Suez was leading the charge on that one. So she went over and to take over those quam points. The big names in the breakaway were Silke Schmolders, Emma Norsgaard, Elise Chabet, Brodie Chapman, Amber Crack, Misha Bredewald, Femke Gericka, Leanna Lippert, Lily Williams, Loretta Hansen, and Pfeiffer Georgie. All my friends, Matthew, were in this breakaway.
Yeah, Georgie's friends.
Yeah, the breakaway of Georgie's friends. So I was very happy to see that when we got to the press room.
It must be odd having come out of the pro peloton and now reporting on them.
Yeah, it is. And, I tell them to do cool things so I can write about them, such as Brodie Chapman. Told her to get up the front again tomorrow so I can do a story about it.
Yeah, she's had a good couple of days, as I'm sure we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. But we will have a look at Brodie Chapman because she did best Leigh Chabet on the quad points at 76 Ks, and words were exchanged between the two of them. And I did inquire with Brodie what was said, and she was like, no, they just gave each other encouragement. It looked a bit more than encouragement on TV, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. The breakaway was working quite well together at 64 Ks to go, rolling turns with the gap at about 1:40. At 56 Ks, the gap was coming down and Chapman attacked the breakaway with Chabet following. Yara Castelline followed as well, and she welded it all back together again. Unfortunately, my friend started to drop off the back, so a bit of a poison chalice being a friend of mine, it seems. So including Pfeiffer Georgie and Loretta Hansen at about between 51 and 45 Ks to go, they dropped off the back, as well as Lily Williams. All because my other friend, Brodie Chapman, was pushing the pace with Elise Chabet. It is a bit of a flex that all these people are my friends, and I'm sorry, but I'm proud of them. Lippert was starting to grimace at that point. Julie Vandervelde of AG Insurance-Soudal was doing fantastic domestique work for Kim Lacourt, pacing on the climb. So much so that Marina Voss was dropped off the back. This climb was was a fairly long one. Smulders accelerated over the top of the quam, and her and Shabby briefly got away for a brief second on the descent. However, Shabby took the total of 10 points, which was at the top of the Cat 1 that day. The smaller group of the breakaway, remainder of the breakaway, continued to go clear, and about 33 Ks to go in the remaining peloton chasing behind. We saw Shirin have a go on the attack. At this point, they'd all come back together. Ricardo Barenfind from Canyon Shrams on Decrypto went with them. And there was an acceleration from Mavis Squiban from UAE Team ADQ to close that gap. At that point, Schmolders was struggling at the back. And at about 32 Ks to go, the Thunderbolts went out and Squiban attacked big time from second wheel on Ricardo Barenfind. It was a massive attack. She got a gap so quickly. Light cadence, looked really strong. And the peloton propped and took a breath. So Squiban was quickly at a minute in front of them at 30 Ks to go. And at the top of the next quam, Shabby came through to close to get in the chase for points. Schmulders tried to challenge again, but got well and truly chopped by Human Powered Health on the right side of the peloton. I asked Schmulders why she's going for the points, and she just told me it's a nice jersey and she wants it. So at 11 Ks to go, Lacourt went for that. But sorry, we've got some motorbikes in the background for those who are listening. At 11 Ks to go, Lacourt went for the bonification sprint for those bonus seconds, won those. And at 9 Ks to go, Juliette Lebeau attacks with Squiban still up the road at 1:25. Lebeau descended like a demon and managed to get second place behind Squiban, with Kim Lacourt winning the bunch kick behind for third.
Plenty to digest there, as usual. Where do you want to start? Should we go to Elise Chabet, QOM jersey, FDJ-Suez?
Yeah, let's have a chat about that.
We were talking during the stage about what the plan was, because, I mean, this is a topic we've talked about throughout the race, about how they're balancing this quest for the QOM jersey. Not just QM jersey, but Nick's as well. Shabby's got the full outfit, which looks pretty sharp.
She looks great.
So this quest for the polka dots with Demi Vollering's quest for the GC overall, and we've questioned that in the past, and it's worked out pretty well so far. And I think it's fair to say it worked out well today as well, having Shabby up the road.
Yeah, I think it did. And they needed a satellite rider up there. And I had a chat with Lars Boom at the end of the stage today at the bus. And the question was asked, like, was it worthwhile having Elise Chabet up the road for so long, burning bickies, as we like to say in the business? And he said, look, if Chabet wasn't in that group, then the breakaway would have gotten 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then he said, maybe not 20 minutes, but 5 or 10 minutes for sure. And then the breakaway would have been gone. But because Chabet was in there, the peloton kept the break in check, and Chabet kept a really hard pace in the peloton, and the peloton had a hard pace trying to keep them in check. So therefore, he was happy because everyone has tired legs.
Yeah, I think we were talking at the time when Shabby was getting caught and saying, if she now goes straight back through the peloton and doesn't contribute to the chase, then, does that leave Demi isolated? But in the end, on that last climb for the bonus seconds, the last, climbing of the day, Vollering still had Shabby on the front working. Then she had Labousse behind her, and then Musique as well. All of them in front of Vollering working really hard. So it felt like it was just a classic satellite ride up the road kind of plan with a helping of the QRM classification as well. And everything seemed to work out pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I think she did pay off human-powered health to chop schmolders on that last climb because it was pretty aggressive and there were words exchanged. But yeah,
it's a big accusation there.
Yeah, no, I pull it back. I don't know. It's blatant accusation there, assumption. I shouldn't assume, but it's gotten me in trouble before on this podcast, so I need to not do it again. But yeah, in all seriousness, it was a smart move to have Shabby up the road there. And she is clearly on some ripper form. So we'll get into it in a little bit, but the quartet now of Vollering, Shabby, Labousse and Musique heading into Madeleine is terrifying.
Yeah, the best climbing squad in the race?
I would say so, yep.
On the subject of FDJ-Suez, let's throw now to an audio diary from Ali Wollaston.
Hey, I just got back to the hotel after stage 6 of the Tour de France. I mean, I can feel it that we're at day 6. I'm tired and we've finally made it into the mountains. So yeah, it's not really my terrain, but I'm happy I could do what I could for the team. My job today was just to look after Demi in the first half and really control the group, try and follow breakaways, etc., and try and set it up for Elise and Amber to get in the break, and our plan worked out perfectly. To be honest, I actually don't really know how the race went because I dropped after I did my job on the climb. So I still need to rewatch the final, but I know that Juliet came second, which is amazing. We're so proud of her. And I'm really happy to see that. But yeah, the morale in the team is still super high. We're really, really motivated, and we have a really exciting few days coming up. Like I said, not my terrain, but I will be there at the start of the race to control and do everything I can to help this team. We're really looking forward to the next few days.
Thanks to Ali Wollaston for that audio diary. Georgie, you said you caught up with Ali across the line?
It was very brief. She crossed the line, big smile on her face. I gave her a big cheer as she went past. She didn't look, she should have been at the front of the peloton looking that fresh after a 22K climb to start the day.
Yeah, not a day for her. All right, let's talk about Kim Lecourt. She did pretty well today. I think we were talking last night about how she would go in the mountains. She looked good on the smaller climbs yesterday. She looked solid today. We had that big 20-kilometre climb. As you said, she had Julie van der Velde working for her. She had Sarah Gigante. She had Justine Hakira working for her. And she looked pretty comfortable throughout, I thought.
Yeah, she did. And I thought I was thoroughly impressed with AG Insurance-Soudal. They're a young team and they're holding yellow. They kept their head on their shoulders. They didn't panic. They didn't do anything rash. There was comments from Demi Vollering at the end of the stage. It was in Dutch, so I got it translated by our lovely Lauren Rowney, saying that AG burnt all their riders on that climb and that the pace wasn't hard enough when Sarah Gigante came through to pace, and so FDJ took over because it wasn't hard enough for the rest of the peloton. And I just wonder if there's some posturing going on right now between FDJ and I don't think AG Insurance and Soudal is buying into it, but I think FDJ's they're trying to wrestle back the narrative of being the boss in the peloton.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm curious to see how that plays out over the next few days. And I mean, they're two squads with really good climbing teams, and we just talked about FDJ-Suez and those 4 riders. They've got a formidable climbing squad there at AG Insurance-Soudal as well, and we've talked about it all week, but the Madeleine in particular is going to be fascinating to see how that goes and see who are the strongest climbers. And
I think it will be, because we did the preview pod and we thought it'd be like 1s and 2s, maybe not even 2s of teammates going up the Madeleine, but having seen the form of the climbing that we have in AG Insurance-Soudal as well as FDJ-Suez, I think we could have 3 or 4 riders from both teams up going the distance on the Madeleine, which will make for fantastic racing.
We talked about Sarah Gigante there. Why don't we hear from the woman herself? Here's an audio diary with friend of the pod, Sarah Gigante.
Hi, Abby and everyone at Escape Collective. It's Sarah Gigante here after a very hard stage 6. Definitely the hilliest stage so far, but also super aggressive racing. We had about 2,500 meters climbing, or a little bit less, over about 120 kilometers of racing. And yeah, most of the climbing was in the last 67 kilometers. And I'd say most of the racing was down the descents. So yeah, the climbs were all pretty controlled, no crazy attacks apart from a really all-out sprint for bonus seconds on the last unofficial climb with 12 k's to go. But yeah, apart from that, it seemed like the major attacks were downhill, which made my day very challenging. But I was rescued twice, I think it was, by MVP of the day, Justine, my teammate, a Belgian champion, and an absolute legend. She was so strong and so selfless, not selfish, the complete opposite. So yeah, thanks to Justine, I was able to stay in the GC group to the end, just by the skin of my teeth. And yes, Kim also won the bunch sprint for third place. I did try and pace to close the gap on there was a plateau on the final descent, but yeah, I think I was pretty cooked by then and just was not strong enough to bring back Lebu. But also Mavis Squibbin was quite a while ahead by that point. Hats off to her. What a super strong ride. And yeah, I have to watch her interview because I saw quite a few people saying it was a really lovely interview. So yeah, well done to her. An amazing performance by my team. We really controlled the race today. Well, I say we, I didn't do it. I benefited from my teammates' hard work. But yeah, the whole team was really well represented in the bunch. Definitely showing we're not a small team anymore. And yeah, we're in it to defend Kim's yellow jersey and do our best to have it on Sunday. So yeah, super exciting to have another day in yellow with Kim, another Simba for the Lion collection in the bus. And yes, looking forward to tomorrow. Although I have to say, of course, I'm a bit apprehensive, I guess might be the right word, for the final descent. There's no hill to chase back on after the descent, so I just have to give it my best shot. And try and turn into Cedrine overnight. She's amazing. But yeah, it should be a good stage, and I think it will be the hardest climb yet. Very back-ended tour, this one, as per usual, it seems. I always have to wait for the good stuff. But yes, I am surprised, pleasantly surprised how well this week has gone. Of course, for my team and Kim doing so well. Like, I knew she was strong and we all believed she could do something amazing. But yeah, she's podiumed nearly every single stage. She's worn yellow. She's in yellow right now, and it looks like she's strong enough to hold it, hopefully, to the end. So yeah, that's blown me away. But then also, yeah, personally, of course, I'm finding it challenging and chaotic. But yeah, I definitely am surprised that I'm only about half a minute behind Vollering and Co. Kim doesn't count because she's my teamie. She's racked up so many bonus seconds. It's amazing. But yeah, about 30, 40 seconds behind the others, which, considering everything that's happened, from baby echelons to chaotic sprints with gaps in them, and yeah, the Brittany stages, and then these crazy descent finishes. One more to go, but still, I'm doing better than I thought. So that's cool. Definitely, I'm still not the GC option for our team, but it does give us something to play with, make the other teams scared a bit, even though Kim's our option A. And yes, super excited to see how she can hold up in the mountains because, yeah, I think the other teams don't know what's coming for them. So hopefully they're not listening. Although, yeah, I mean, they've been racing Kim all week. They can see how amazing she is. And when those bonus sprints come on the top of really tough climbs and challenging points in the race, she's always the one winning them, and also winning all the sprints at the end. And yeah, she is amazing. But yeah, today all my team was amazing, but I have to say another huge thank you for Justine and to Justine for absolutely saving me multiple times. MVP. Thank you so much, Justine. I know you probably don't listen to this, and you probably listen to something in West Flemish instead, but yeah, thank you. That was very kind, strong, and selfless of you. So yes, on to another tough day tomorrow, and only 2 days until the stage I've been looking forward to for about a year. Ever since the course was announced, I've been looking forward to the 2nd of August, and we're 2 stages away. We can do it. Thanks. Toodaloo.
Thanks to Sarah Gigante for sending through that audio diary. You talked a little bit about the mind games being played between FDJ-Suez and AG Insurance-Soudal. There was some of that too with regard to the bonus sprint, which is the last climb of the day with the bonus seconds available at the top. We saw Squiban took the 6 seconds at the top as a solo rider, but then it was Kim Lecourt who was next across the line to take the 4 seconds. You heard Demi Vollering making comments about whether that was the best use of energy, right?
I did, and I heard Kim Lecourt's response to it in the press conference. But first of all, Demi Vollering said the multiple micro accelerations made by Lecourt are going to add up by the end of the tour, and so she doesn't see the point in chasing those. Because it's a long tour and it's easy to get fatigued. She also did own up to the fact that she doesn't have the explosivity that Lecourt has. Lars Boom said a similar comment. He said that some riders want to go for those seconds, but it's fine, of course, if they want to go for them. So he was ambivalent about the bonus seconds. And then Kim Lecourt was asked for a response to those comments from Demi in the press conference, and she had a phenomenal quote, which I'm getting it right here. It says, "No, I think the micro accelerations add up, but the seconds can also add up. I felt really good, and it wasn't going to add up with my legs."
Yeah. I mean, there's still a big question about how Lecourt's going to go on the biggest climbs of this race, and particularly the Madeleine, but I would not be comfortable giving her all of this time that she's got.
Absolutely not. And she did acknowledge that. She said, "I'm not a 100% pure climber. For me, it's important to get as many seconds as possible. I don't know how we'll go in the mountains. I'll take it day by day, but I have the best climber in the peloton with Sarah Gigante, and I can play that joker if I want."
Yeah. And look, this tour still might be decided by minutes. We've talked about that a bunch of times. But at the moment, Lecourt's 26 seconds ahead of Ferrand Prévot in second, with Niewiadoma Finney at 30 seconds and Vollering 31, Van der Breggen at 35 seconds. So, yeah, in the context of last year's tour, which was decided by those 4 seconds, having a rider with 26 seconds up on the rest of them already is significant.
It is significant. And I just wanted to point out, there's been a lot of noise between, I guess because they're obviously in the yellow jersey, so, there's... They have a lot of press requirements, but FDJ-Suez has been a bit noisy. But in terms of just they're asserting their dominance again, and it's positive. It's a positive noise. But then if you think we haven't Visma, Pauline, those guys haven't heard a peep, have not heard a peep from Canyon. I wonder if that's going to change, or if they're just silently gliding under the radar until it's time to strike.
I did hear TNT Sports interview with Pauline Ferrand Prévot at the finish line today, and she was asked about Maëva Squiban's win for starters, and was delighted to have a fellow French woman take the first to win the stage today, the first French winner of this year's race, which we'll get to very shortly. But she was asked about how she found today's stage, and she basically said, yeah, it was just a pretty easy day. She was happy just following the wheels, sitting in that lead bunch, just rolling through and just feeling good. And she said she felt great the entire day and feels very confident coming into the mountains ahead. Yeah,
I feel like today was not going to be a stage that was going to decide GC unless you really cooked it on the descent. But it was a day that could seriously zap the legs, and I think that's rightfully what Lars Boom was referring to. It was a hard day, and I spoke to a lot of riders as I came across the finish line. I spoke to actually Francesca Koch, who we spoke about previous days being in the breakaway, and I was like, "Franzi, how is it?" And she's like, "Look, it was fine until you saw it was only 5Ks to go and you realize your legs are cooked, because it was only 5-6% but it was 22 kilometers that first climb, and just really, really draining. You get into your rhythm, you think you're okay, but it is over an hour of just being on."
We've talked about her a little bit, but let's go into more detail about Maëva Squiban's win today, because that was a hell of a ride. And she's a rider that's known to the Tour de France. She had that breakout ride last year when she finished second on a stage behind Jacine Herkira. She kind of rode away from the GC group that day on stage 7 on one of the hardest days of the race, and she was riding for the Arkea B&B Hotels team at that time, a smaller team in the grand scheme of things. Now she's on one of the biggest squads in the race in UAE Team ADQ, and look, they had a rubbish start to the race. We kind of talked about that last night, and over the past few days, having lost a bunch of riders through illness. They lost Lisa Longoborghini, then they lost Eleonora Gasparini, and then they lost Caroline Swinkles, all in the space of 3 days. They lost one rider a day. So they ended up starting today's stage 6 with just the 4 riders on the bus. And things hadn't been going particularly well for them. So they were all given an opportunity to just ride whatever chances they saw. And we've seen Brodie Chapman do that the last couple of days. So, she was up the road yesterday and was on her own with less than 20 Ks to go, and she was up the road again today in that breakaway. But Mavis Squiban was in that GC group on that last categorized climb of the day, about 30 Ks to go, and just saw an opportunity and went for it. And we asked her in the press conference afterwards, what was the moment about? Like, why did you go then? What was it that prompted you to attack in that moment? She said, I don't know. I don't know. It just happened. It wasn't that there was something particularly happening in the bunch or a particular moment on the climb or anything like that. She just thought, I feel good now. My legs are all right. I'll just have a crack. And as you said, the bunch gave her a little bit of leeway, and that's the benefit of being nearly 10 minutes down on GC. At this point, she wasn't a threat to that. So they gave her just a little bit of leeway. But she rode very strongly, because you think about what happened after that. FDJ were on the front, drilling it basically up the rest of the climb, and you had Labousse chasing as well, but still she managed to win by more than a minute. So a pretty phenomenal ride from the young French woman.
Yeah, and I actually I caught up. I'm doing a piece on my favorite topic, which is handlebars, Matthew. So I've been chatting with a lot of mechanics in the paddock, and I caught up with the UAE mechanic this morning, and we did our, the formalities, did the thing, we talked business. And then when we stopped, I was like, we chat about Brodie, and then asking how she's going to go today. And then I said, but like Mava, like she's phenomenal. And he's like, oh yeah, she's on some flying form at the moment. Like, despite the fact they're down to 4 riders now, they are punching above their weight, and they're showing that they're still here on a mission, and far out 4 riders, and they've won a stage of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift. It's not a bad showing.
Yeah, really impressive for them to turn that around. I wrote in a piece on Escape Collective tonight that it's kind of a silver lining of Elisa Longoborghini's withdrawal. Obviously, they didn't want to lose her from the race at all, but the fact that she's gone, it's changed the dynamic for them. They're no longer racing for her. They're all opportunists now. They all get to take whatever chances come their way. And Squiban wouldn't have won today's stage. I'm pretty confident saying that if Longoborghini was still in the race. So that's a great opportunity for them. And for her personally, it was only a couple of months ago that she was actually hit by a driver while out training. And she had a quote afterwards saying that her helmet saved her life. And she was in a neck brace and was in all kinds of pain. And just a horrible thing. Obviously, we hear about that sort of thing happening far too much. But she bounced back pretty well. And yet it wasn't clear until just a few weeks before the tour whether she'd actually be racing, So a kind of a tricky period for her, but so good to see that she's here and racing well, obviously.
Yeah, incredible. And I would just like to go into, because I, once again, have not worked out the transition commute from the press centre to the finish line. Matt gets there magically and he drops me a pin, and I'm like, I get to a point and I'm like, where do I go now? And so he gets a panic call from me, and then I'm sweating and I get there in an absolute tiz. But I had the fortunate, it was actually good. I got to the Jumbotron at 400 metres to go, and I looked up the finishing straight, and it was packed with people pounding on the barriers. And I was thinking, we have a French woman off the front at the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift in this tiny town in the middle of France. And I'm going to just walk up this finishing straight, and I'm just going to soak up what it's exactly like. So I was walking up, and I had old women hanging out of these windows, sitting on windowsills. I had old men like nearly, cutting themselves in half to lean as far over the barricade as possible so they could see the Jumbotron. young kids looking in wonder at what was happening on the TV. There was like kids running amok. There was a little boy on a balance bike just came shooting past me, and then everyone around him just started cheering him on. And I don't think his mum was terribly pleased because he just picked up the pace enormously, and she ran past me. So and I was like, "Oh, pocket show," and she's like, "Oh yeah, I know." Well, I think she said that in French. But the smiles and the jubilation that I saw on the faces around me as I was walking up to the finish line to find you was insane. And you could see when Maeva came around that finishing straight at 400 meters to go, she was blowing kisses to the crowd. She was hyping them up. The emotion on her face was palpable. But the emotion goes beyond her. It goes into the crowd itself. Like, this is a French event. And to have a French winner come across that line first, with the possibility of having a French overall winner at the end of this week is exciting. And it brings so much joy to such a remote town in the middle of France that she probably would never go to.
Yeah, it's a great point. Not much to add to that besides I agree, and the crowds have been incredible. It's from the very start in Brittany, every single day, we've been amazed by how big the crowds are. It makes our lives a bit difficult getting around, to be honest, a lot harder than it was in the first couple of years of the tour from memory, the women's tour from memory. But just incredible to see. And a French winner, fantastic. And the prospect of a French overall winner as well later in the week, amazing. Speaking of that potential French winner for the overall, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, let's hear from one of her teammates in another audio diary. This is Imogen Wolff.
Hey, Imogen here. We're just at the hotel after stage 6. The start of this one was more chill. We didn't want to be in the break. So this was so nice not having to be jumping all the time and just taking it a bit more easy. And then I just tried to bring Pauline into the climb in a good position. I was going to try and make it over the top, but it was a bit of a big ask. And I just didn't have the legs for 22K. But I found a nice group. We had a good groupetta, lots of good vibes, and made it with plenty of time to spare. So this was really good. And again, to get to soak up the crowds was so nice. To see all the little girls in like the cycling jerseys and things like this was so special. Like, when I was growing up, there was only the men's tour to watch, and so it's really nice that they can, see a bit what's possible. I really had goosebumps riding up some of the climbs today. And Pauline also had really good sensations, and the other girls in the team were climbing super well. A bit more of a flatter stage tomorrow, maybe that's generous, and then 2 really big mountain days to finish. But we're excited for it. Morale on the team is really good with everyone. So, that's really nice. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks to Imogen Wolff for sending in that audio diary from today's stage. All right, Georgie, let's talk about tomorrow, stage 7. We're getting through the stages, aren't we?
Oh my gosh. I know. It's felt like I was, just hanging on by my fingertips in the first few stages, getting a hang of this, and now all of a sudden we're heading into stage 7. It's wild and slightly terrifying that I have to climb the Madeleine in 2 days, but that's okay.
Just on that, for those that are interested, you've come from the professional peloton. Now you're stepping over the other side of the fence and right in the thick of it. We've talked about media scrums. We've talked about getting quotes and all that kind of thing. What's it been like? How are you doing? What's your experience been like so far?
Yeah, my neo-pro year as a journalist at the Tour de France. It's my first time covering a race, and I couldn't ask for a better mentor in Matt Neef and a better remote mentor in Abby Mickey, who we miss dearly. But it's been a real whirlwind. I think battling jet lag at the start of the week was not terribly fun. But my first press appearance on the Friday before the tour started, I remember sitting down at my computer and I was just shaking with adrenaline. I was sweating. It was mad. But I think I've hit my stride a bit. Had a few lessons. My first number one lesson, which Matt's seen the ugly side of, is that I really need food to function and be a human that is a joy to be around.
Oh, that wasn't ugly. I've seen some food-related blow-ups at the tour, and that was nothing. You were doing just fine. Not only with that, but overall, you're doing an amazing job. So.
And also, we've found we listened to, what was it, Audio Slave today, for the drive between the start and the finish. So we've found some commonality in our musical taste, which has been good.
All right, stage 7. What's in store for the riders?
All right, so we have a stage that is No, if they say they're doing 160 Ks, then they're absolutely wrong, and they are just overinflating the Tour de France, because they are riding 159.7 kilometres tomorrow, Matthew, and they are going from Bourg en Bresse to Chambéry. For those who know Chambéry, it is the gateway to the Alps. Some beautiful ski fields around there. I was lucky enough to go to Val d'Isère when I was a kid, and would love to go back. The riders will have about 110 Ks of rolling terrain. They cover about 700 meters of climbing in that 110 kilometers. So for the whole day, they climb 1,950 meters of elevation. So they still have 1,200 to go by the time they hit the first climb at first Quam, which is at 111.8 Ks. That's a Category 2. Then they follow by Category 4, and then a Category 2, and then it is a banging descent into the finish line. I'm talking like 17 Ks. So we saw glimpses of Cédric Cabal today sending it down a descent, and I think she is looking at this stage with she's salivating at this descent heading into Chambéry, because Chambéry marks the start of what is an extremely difficult weekend of racing. So this is the last stage where riders who aren't your pure climber types can really make a difference.
On paper, it looks like a slightly easier day than today in terms of the categorization of the climbs. But that last climb, the Col de Grenier, that's a Cat 2. That looks like a tricky final climb.
It is a tricky climb, and it's 8 Ks at about 5.5%. But the steepest part of the climb comes at about 3 Ks into it, and then up towards the finish as well before the descent. So the steepest part up the top towards the descent is always a tricky part to have it. It's a launch pad for attacks. That's why I'm thinking we're going to see a late attack, and then it literally is downhill all the way to the line.
So who's your pick?
Cabal again.
Yeah, we've mentioned her a few times, haven't we? And I
really want her just to send it. Just send it.
Yeah, another French winner would be good. I think Nieuwe Doma's one to watch. She loves getting off the front on a descent and has been trying a few times. All right, I think that's just about it for today's Stage 6 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift. We're going to be kicking on a little bit with our off-mic segment for our members. But for everyone that's not signed up, thank you so much for joining us after today's stage. We'll be back tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in.